Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. So, I wanted to do a quick review of Subnautica, and I don't know what I think about this game. Subnautica 1, I played Subnautica 1, and I felt like the game was very similar to Subnautica 1 in a lot of ways. It's certainly not a foreign game in terms of that. Like, if you played Subnautica 1, I feel like you definitely are going to see similarities. There's a lot of similarities. In fact, it feels very much like the same game, except you're on like a different planet and you have some different rules. Except there's just like this weird overtone in the game. I mean, first off, you have this robot companion here who you talk to all the time. And the robot companion talks to you about a bunch of different things. For one thing, you can reprint yourself. So you can literally just reprint your body anytime you want to. Except it's made very clear to you that the entire time you've been playing, that the reprinting process is essentially just killing you and then recreating you from a template. So, for instance, if you were to die and you get made into this pod, you're not really respawning so much as they're just making a copy of you. A clone, essentially. And at one point, it's really freaking weird. The robot even tells you to go commit suicide, so he can recalibrate the body machine. And then all throughout the entire game, you know, like you're basically treated like this insignificant piece of meat, essentially, that has no purpose other than to serve the corporate entity. And it's made very clear that the robot not only has the ability to essentially just reprint you from whatever template they want, but even so much so as to steal from individuals. So this is kind of a crazy one, is that apparently, like, you have debt to the company. Like, you're an indentured servant, basically. You owe the company money. And because you owe the company money, you have to work off your debts. Well, it takes a certain amount of time, but eventually you'll be able to work off your debt. However, it's been made clear that when you die, before your debt is paid off, the robot will just print you from an earlier copy when you didn't know your debt was about to be paid off, essentially trapping you in a permanent loop of indentured servitude forever. The overarching story of the company essentially like owning you and deleting, killing you at will and treating you like you're basically a piece of property is really, I hate to say it, but it's like very political. And then it gets worse. So like when you're out in the world and you're swimming around and you're trying to do things, predators will attack you. Monsters will try and eat you and they'll try and kill you. And you can't really fight back. There's no weapons, there's no knife, there's no axe, there's no nothing really that you can do to the monsters to fight back against those monsters or those ecological fishes that are trying to murder you. You can't really do anything except for maybe like shine a flashlight in their face or shoot a sonic resonator in their direction and hope they go away. It's so bad to the point where, at least in Subnautica 1, it felt like you could at least defend yourself. Like you had a knife and you could fight back. Sometimes the monsters, the fish would go away from you. And in general, like it seemed like in Subnautica 1, you were allowed to defend yourself, right? If something attacks you, you were allowed to fight back. In this game, there's this disconnect with the ecosystem because you're not allowed to fight anything. You're not allowed to fight back against the predators that try and kill you. You're not allowed to fight back against, anything at all, really. Except for the fact that you can just walk up to fish and eat them and just, it doesn't make much sense in that, like, I can just grab a fish out of the air here and I can just go cook it, for instance. I could just take this fish back to my base and I could just cook and eat this fish. I mean, that's cool. I'm gonna eat it. But at the same time, I'm not allowed to defend myself against like anything that tries to attack me, which is really weird. And I kind of did a little bit of research on it because I was kind of confused as to why the game, because I remember Subnautica 1 having like a knife that you could craft, and I think there was a drill, and some other things that you could use so that you could basically defend yourself in situations where you needed to. And most of the time, you wouldn't actually kill anything because a lot of the times the fish would just kind of run off, like when you attack them, right? I got all these fish to cook. Look at all these fish that I can eat, but I can't like fight back against a predator that's trying to eat me. Apparently, you're allowed to eat fish, but you're not allowed to defend yourself against the fish that are trying to eat you. Oh no. A pile of dead fish. Look at this. I mean, overall, the gameplay loop is very similar to that of the original game. You collect resources, you build a base, you basically fight to survive in an alien world, only that you don't really fight to survive. There's no fighting involved, really. Like, there's not a lot of that at all. You pretty much just swim through the world as an observer. Somebody made a comment in one of the posts, and it kind of made me laugh because they basically said, I feel like I'm a hologram being projected into the world because I basically have no control over anything that happens within the world. Like, I'm not really there because I can't really interact with the world, so to speak. And I kind of mirror that consensus, is that it doesn't really feel like you're interacting with the world so much as you're just kind of here, like directing things. What they have so far in the game feels, I can't really say that it really feels that much different than the original game. If you played Subnautica 1 and you swam around in the game and you interacted with stuff and you dove down the deep holes and you collected the minerals and like scanned the the various things that are throughout the world. So you're going to scan, like, for instance, so there's a tadpole piece. You can scan that and you can get, part of the blueprint, essentially. They send you on missions. It seems a little bit more interactive than the other one as far as the missions are concerned. But in general, it hasn't really changed a whole lot, except for the fact that it seems like they took away almost every single ability for you to be able to defend yourself in any way, shape, or form from anything. I have the tadpole here. Let's hop into the tadpole, shall we? So this is my tadpole. The area that they have that you can explore isn't really the biggest in this early access game. I guess they really haven't added like a super huge amount yet. I kind of feel like within, I think it was like 8 hours, I had already kind of seen all of the surface. I even found like the volcano area, although I didn't have the adaptation to go into the volcano area yet. I don't even think you can kill fish by running into them, by the way, like you could in the original game. And meanwhile, the predators just constantly attack you, just all the time. Even when you're in the tadpole, they're just constantly attacking you. I mean, it is kind of a fun game, and I feel like it would be really fun to play with friends. Personally, though, I think if I had the opportunity, I would probably mod in some abilities to defend myself. I can't really stand this, like, overly pacifist, like, you're not allowed to do anything sort of a system that they have set up here. Like, you're allowed to eat things, but you're not allowed to defend yourself. You're allowed to murder yourself and commit suicide so you can reprint your body and calibrate a machine. But if, a predator comes along and, like, gnaws off your leg, I mean, you just gotta stand there and let him do it, basically. And then most of the stuff that you need to be, like, a pacifist, you have to go find, and you have to go scan, and you have to, like, to sit there and look for. So you don't have, like, any of the pacifist methods to be a pacifist, essentially, right? So you have to go and you have to find all these things, and you have to scan them. So you have to find the sonic disruptor tool, and you have to find the information on each one of the things. So you need the scanner to know what it is that you can do for each one of the things. Like, some of the stuff will react to lights, like you can chase them away with lights. Some of them will be attracted by the lights, so you don't necessarily know exactly what's going on. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, like, I hate to say this, if I were to pick a survival game to play, And that's essentially what this is a survival game. And you do have to, of course, survive by getting resources, by, finding food, and in general, just like building yourself a habitat that you can live in. If I was to play a survival game, I don't think I would pick this one. It's a little complicated, but I don't particularly prefer this style of like ultra pacifism. I don't know what it is. It's weird, and it makes the game kind of boring in a way where you feel like you're not part of the world. Like instead of, and I kind of understand what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you be like, okay, this is a world that you live in, and you're a part of it, and you have to, it's like Captain Planet, kind of stuff. Like you're a part of this world, you live in it too. Like why would you let it go to rot? But then at the same time, they disconnect you from the world in basically every way that they can disconnect you by removing your agency to be able to make those decisions. Like there's the heat area right there. I'm pretty sure if I go in this area, I'm gonna explode. Let's do it anyway. Seek freshwater intake. Oh yeah, I need water. What is in the fire zone? I haven't been in the fire zone yet. Oh, okay. I'm burning alive. There is a lot of just like it's kind of hard to explain the massiveness of the map while also there not being very much there. To put it into perspective, imagine you moved back and forth between your house and your school, right? Eventually you would learn where everything is in between that area, right? You would learn where all of the little areas are, all the little nooks and crannies, all the houses, the neighbors' dogs, etc. Nothing changes, right? There's no like no randomization, right? There's no randomization here either. Everything seems to be handcrafted. There's no like spawning in things specifically for a reason. So like as you travel, you start to travel across these zones, and one of the things that you'll realize is that you start to learn the terrain relatively quickly and where everything is, and it's like there's not a lot there in that regard, because once you start knowing where everything is and you realize that, oh look, there's a platform with some stuff on it, but I've already scanned everything on this and I've already collected everything from this platform. And then as you're swimming along, you see that platform again, and there's nothing on that platform for you to interact with anymore. Nothing really respawns there, right? So like you're like, okay, I've already seen that. I've already done that 1,000 times. I've already gone into this cave, like 100 times, and it starts to get not as fun. It's weird because nothing attacks you, except for the fact that everything attacks you, right? So like nothing attacks your base as far as I've seen yet. Like nothing comes after you and tries to kill you, but as you're swimming around the world, things attack you constantly. Whereas in a game like, say, Sons of the Forest, for instance, in Sons of the Forest, like the cannibals are like constantly attacking your base, and they're constantly trying to kill you, and to take all your stuff or whatever, right? They come in your house and they start destroying it, and it leads to this tension, right? There's a tension that exists between you and the cannibals, right? And so it makes things more interesting because there's this tension. And the tension also has to do with the fact that you can defend yourself from the cannibals that are attacking you. But, like you can do that in a myriad of ways. You can build up defenses. You can, build traps. You can, like, just simply make your base inaccessible to them. There's a lot of things that you can potentially do to create a situation where, like they have trouble getting access to your base. In this game, it feels like they tie your hands. Like you don't get a lot of choices in the same way. Like you can't defend yourself. You can't set up traps. You can't like set up netting to catch the fish. You can't, like in general, you're limited to one option, which is passiveness across the board on everything. Like you basically passively scare the fish away with devices. You passively, like activate like some sort of sonic disruptor, which causes the fish to leave you alone for the time being. You bop them on the nose. I think you can do that, and they run away from you. But then they just come right back. Like they literally just come right back whenever they feel like it. Like, in fact, they'll re-aggro in like 3 seconds. Although it's a very beautiful world, I think I'd rather play Subnautica 1. There was more like freedom of choice in that game. It felt like you had more control over what was going on. I don't know. This game, it feels like you have less and less control over what's going on, and it seems to be a deliberate choice by the developers to restrict your hands, to tie your hands, essentially. In fact, one of the developers was literally quoted as saying, if you want to kill stuff, go play Sons of the Forest. Not even joking. Which kind of like leads me to what I was talking about earlier, which is if I had to choose a survival game, I don't think I would play this game. I think I would play Sons of the Forest instead. That's one of the best survival games I've played in a while. Like, it has tension because the monsters are constantly, coming after you. You have to defend your base. You can choose which way you defend your base. You can do it aggressively. You can do it passively. You can build a defensive system. You can set up traps. Like, it gives you a freedom of choice to determine your own fate, whereas this game doesn't really give you that freedom of choice to determine your own fate. It just puts you in a linear sort of a pathway. And I think that's kind of the what I'm trying to get at, is that it really feels like this game was designed around, we want you to play the game this way. And if you don't want to play the game this way, then F you, right? Because you're going to play the game the way they want you to play it, or else. The only way that you could potentially bypass this would be with modding, which could be a very interesting part of the scene, which is, just simply modding in the things and the tools you need to actually kind of have the player agency. Maybe making it so that the predators are killable when the predators are trying to murder you. I don't know. There's a lot of various things and problems here with this title, but I feel like instead of being a direct upgrade to Subnautica 1, I feel like this game is just a direct downgrade to Subnautica 1. Like, if you really wanted to play Subnautica 2, my best suggestion would just simply be to boot up Subnautica 1. I hate to say it. And this is probably going to come off as overly negative, but, I did enjoy the game of what I played for it. It's just tiny little things started to bug me and nag at me over a while. Like, as you're swimming around, the predators are constantly biting you and taking chunks out of your HP, and there's very little you can do about it. Like, I don't have access to the things that I need to be able to keep them away from me. Like, maybe if they made it so that I could get access to this stuff easier, it might not be such a big deal, but you have to do a lot of searching to find the recipe for the sonic resonator. You need to do a lot of searching to get the materials that you need for the wiring kit, the lead, the battery, and even the titanium ingot, which requires this thing, which you have to build the titanium ingot in. And then by the time that you've got all that, you pretty much already have a base set up, and you've basically been constantly annoyed by the predators for hours. Just hours and hours of being constantly annoyed by the predators while you're trying to get a base set up, and you're trying to find the things that you need to find and scan, and swimming all over the entire bay, the frickin' area, trying to do what you need to do. And you don't have the tools that you need, really, to deal with the problems that they're presenting you with. It feels very frustrating in some ways, because you know that there's probably some way you could deal with the problem, but the problem is presented to you, and then you are given no way to solve it. And then in the process of trying to solve the problem, you have to go through a massive number of steps just to reach the point where you can hit some sort of equilibrium. Like, it's really weird. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted on this one, because I do feel like this could be a really fun game to play in a group. I do feel like if you had like, 4 or 5 friends or whatever, and you were all in the same server and you were having fun together, I feel like there'd be something to that, and you could definitely explore and see neat things. But at the same time, I also kind of feel like the game is very like linear path style gaming, which is where you're not really allowed to choose your own path. You can't really figure out what you want to do on your own. Like if you want to go around murdering everything, I mean, that should be an option. I hate to say it, but it should be an option. And there should be repercussions to that option. I'm not a monster. Like, I think that games should, teach messages, sure. But, like, they shouldn't tie your hands and prevent you from doing things. I mean, it very much so seems like the creators of this game want to preach political ideology and like anti-gun measures. There's even a point where you're talking to the NOAA at one point, and it literally says something along the lines of, "No, you can't print guns. Those are only used for killing other humans," or something. Um, I mean, it's very obvious that they have a political motivation in what they're doing with this game. And not only is it very obvious, but you can literally just see it. So if you pull up like Google and you just type in Subnautica 2, like won't let me fight back when I get attacked. There are literally quotes by several of the developers, basically saying that like we don't care. Let's see here. There's even articles on like Kotaku and stuff already about it. Like, here's one right here. This one is Subnautica 2 has a violence problem, and it's not coming from the players. One aspect of Subnautica 2 that strongly stood out to me as different from the original game is how dangerously violent some of the alien fish are. The first Subnautica was not without its aggressive sea life, especially the colossal kind, but you also had at least a teeny-weeny little knife to wave around in self-defense. In Subnautica 2, you've got flares, and the more I play, the more I find myself frustrated by the constant annoyance of angry fishies trying to bash into me. It seems I'm not alone, as IGN points out that there's a growing number of players asking for the ability to fight back. It was never the point of the original Subnautica to kill anything. The game was overly pacifist in its design, and while you could get a knife very early on, it was primarily only for cutting plant life. However, it did also double as a means of self-defense against particularly aggressive animals that didn't want to share the patch of ocean with you. Or if you were a bad person, you could repeatedly swipe at the sea life and eventually kill it. Not so in the mostly impressive Subnautica 2, where the only means of evading such attacks are swimming away or lobbing flares that very temporarily distract irritating aquatics. You can also sort of give them a blast from your sonic resonator, but it has very minimal effect. And while I'm fully in support of Subnautica, in which I neither can nor even want to kill anything, right now at this point of its early access release, the balance is definitely off. IGN quotes Subnautica environmental artist Uli as saying that the ability to kill fish remains a lively discussion within the development studio. Trust me, it's a hot topic. They quote the artist as saying, and while this particular developer is on the side of letting players kill smaller fish, which they already can because they eat them all, which might sound odd until you recognize that you can catch them, cook them, and eat them, exactly, which is also rather killy. They're against being able to fight the shark-sized predators. However, when you bump into a predator, you shouldn't be going, ugh, what a pain. You should be going, oh man, what tools do I have up my sleeves to deal with this guy? Well, the answer is none, is you basically have no tools to deal with the shark predators at the beginning at all. I very strongly agree because right now I play Ugh is far too common refrain, and the issue is creatures like the Bullet Head and the Marrow Breach are obsessive pests with vastly too much power. You're trying to complete a required task that involves staying in one spot, and these buggers are incessantly ramming into you, biting you, electrocuting you, poisoning you, stinging you, and the only thing you can do is wave a flare. And this is especially the case when it comes to later tasks involving clearing viral bloom infected angel combs, where you're outrageously vulnerable the entire time with no recourse. So instead of feeling like you've been bravely surviving, instead you just feel helpless and annoyed. And then and that can't be angle developer Unknown Worlds aiming for. I mean, it's just, it is an issue, and it's not only is it an issue, but it's something that's just going to annoy the crap out of you. And I feel like it wouldn't be a good review if I didn't at least talk about that. Like, if I didn't at least talk about the fact that it feels like the game is taking away kind of any choice that you have in being able to do things. I don't see myself returning to the game. I think if I wanted to play, I think I would rather just play Subnautica 1. Or maybe if I did play this game, maybe I would look for some mods to change the way that the game is currently running. I don't even know. I'd like my knife back, to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, as meager as the knife was, and as absolutely impotent as it was versus, like, the big gigantic fish in the Subnautica 1, at least it felt like I had some form of self-defense when I could, when I was attacked by predators. But in this game, it just feels like you have no self-defense whatsoever. You're constantly just annoyed that the predators exist because they're constantly trying to kill you. And the only thing you can really do, basically, is run away from them. And then even then, they chase you down, like, all the way across the map as far as you can see. Like, I just don't know. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I got to say about this game. It's beautiful. It would probably be very fun to play with a bunch of friends. I don't really like the pacifist nature of the game. It's not the fact that it's a pacifist game. In fact, I think a lot of the times when I played games, I play them in a pacifist way. I don't go out of my way to, like, murder everything and, like, kill all the fish and, like, assert dominance over the land. But at the same time, I also like having the choice. If something comes and attacks me, I want to be able to defend myself. Like, in fact, whether the choice is there or not, I think is very important to the narrative of the story, because it allows the player to make that choice. And I feel like that's the biggest issue here, is that they've taken away the player's choice in that regard and created a game where you're forced to be a pacifist whether you want to or not, forced to be a pacifist whether you were going to be a pacifist or not. And I think that there's something very cheap and underlyingly bad about forcing the player into one specific type of gameplay along one rigid storyline on this linear path, essentially. Just kind of, yeah, it's blah. I'm sure a lot of people are having fun with this game. I even had some fun with this game. I just don't see myself going back to it. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.